Hi, welcome to the Need2Know Comedy Show, and today I'm talking to Katie Pritchard. How are you, Katie?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay, yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm enjoying the lockdown now, just being creative at home and not traveling all over the country.
Yeah, I did get asked about a gig the other day, and my first thought was, how long's the travel time? Because it's going to be a lot longer than just walk into my lounge.
Yeah.
That's never normally been something I've ever thought about.
Right, yeah. I kind of don't mind not traveling so much, so, but I could do with some money, I think. um, but Katie, where are you from?
I'm from London,
Ah,
born
London.
and raised.
I see. Okay. And you went to school in London,
Oh yeah, that's me, North Londoner.
North London. And what kind of stuff were you into in school?
Oh, a bit of everything. I actually at one point thought I was going to be a forensic scientist.
Really?
So I was really into science and maths.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, I loved it. But then my physics teacher was like, in all seriousness, Katie, when you leave school, are you going to do forensic science as a hobby? It, if you did music as a job, if you did performance as a job, would you do forensic science as a hobby? And I was like, obviously not. And he was like, if you did forensic science as a job, would you do performance as a hobby? I was like, well, obviously. And he's like, well, why are you trying to do forensic science? I think he just didn't want me to be in his class anymore, in all honesty. But it was him that made me think, oh, maybe I could be a performer.
Oh, that's quite an interesting way of putting it. He let you make the decision.
Yeah, he talked me out of being in his physics class for A level, so I think that's what he wanted.
Okay, right. Yeah, it's funny. Like both of my kids did physics and quite good at maths, but both of them have gone into the arts. One into music and one into art.
Mm.
Um,
Maybe physics is the gateway subject.
it could be yeah. All those lovely diagrams, I think.
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Yeah,
Look at the atoms.
yeah. I don't think there's I think with music and maths, I think there's probably a link, because
Oh,
it's still kind of scales and things like that. A bit like maths. Yeah.
yeah. I think one girl in my class wrote a whole score based on the maths of music.
Oh,
So she
really?
didn't play it she didn't write it by playing it on an instrument. She wrote it by figuring out, if it's in a fifth, it's going to sound like this. If it's a fourth, it will sound like that. She wrote it all like
Wow.
that.
Just wrote the whole thing.
Yeah, as like a mathematical equation,
That's
essentially.
amazing. That's incredible. Um,
That's
I'm always amazed at, like at, composers who are composing for a whole orchestra and just not just what instrument is playing what note, but how they're playing it. And I don't know how to speak about music, obviously, but yeah, so it's
They've got a
impressive.
lot going on when they write a
Yeah,
score. Yeah.
yeah. So, did you do music in school? So,
I did, yeah. I did GCSE and I did AS level. I was allowed to take my AS level in my second year of A levels, if that makes sense, as an
yeah,
extra subject.
right.
Um, but I couldn't get to most classes, but they let that slide.
Okay. and 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 like, were you into like being a serious musician, like a serious songwriter at any?
I did well. I did write quite a lot of songs for my whole life. I think I started writing songs maybe properly when I was about 8 or 9. I
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember designing an album cover and everything.
Yeah.
um, but when I I think when I was about 18, I met. I used to work for a charity, and I made friends with one guy who was a musician, and he wanted some lyrics put onto a song, and so he sent me the song, and I sent him some lyrics back, and he just was like, "This is the most depressing lyrics I've ever heard." Like he was like, it was supposed to be an uplifting song. He was like, "I've just sat here crying." So he said, "Maybe you shouldn't be a songwriter because it's too sad." And
Oh,
I didn't write songs for ages, and I just sung. I just would perform, other people's music. and then I thought, okay, well maybe if I'm writing serious songs, it's too sad, but maybe I can write light-hearted, fun ones, and it not be too sad. So that's
okay,
that's the aim.
okay.
But yeah, he was very distraught when he phoned me to make sure I was okay.
What the
Because
hell?
I
What
was
did
in the vibe of the music that you've sent me, which to me was calling out for quite sad, emotional lyrics.
Oh my
um,
God! But you moved him. I mean,
I moved him to tears for a reason. I'm not
so
sure if it was
sad
for the right reason.
that he couldn't even sing the lyrics.
He was like, I need to make sure Katie's okay right now. Um, and make sure she doesn't make any career choices based on being a lyricist for serious songs.
That's incredible. I mean, there's a fine line between really depressing and hilarious, though. You know.
Oh yeah, and I found that line, I think, with that song. Oh, made sure I stayed the other side of it ever since.
And did you go to college then after school?
I just went to uni. I did musical theatre actually because I really love dance. I wanted to be a choreographer actually. At,
Yeah.
when I left school, I wanted to be a choreographer, but I'm very small. I'm not really designed to dance ballet, so it was. I didn't really feel like a connection with anywhere that I went to audition. I felt like they'd just be annoyed the whole time that I was a bit too small to do what they,
Well,
so
that
these
they would
lovely
be
like
annoyed.
things.
Right. Okay.
So I decided to do musical theatre because I love music, and it was my dance teacher. I mean, I'm very lucky, I think, basically with all my teachers. And my dance teacher in A level was like, you're really good at music. Why don't you do something with music involved? And I was just like, well, it's very easy, so there's no point. And she was like, no, that is the point. And so I thought musical theatre at a college, it had a music department as well. So I thought I might meet other musicians, and
Yeah.
but we were on completely different campuses, so that didn't work out. But yeah, so I thought I'd do a musical theatre, and then I can do music, dancing, and acting, which are my
Mm.
favourites.
Oh, so have you done any musicals?
I have, yeah.
Mm.
I've been in a couple of shows in the West End and on tours, and I
Oh,
do quite a lot of regional stuff just for
oh,
fun.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I should have done more research. So what musicals have you been in?
And the one I was in for the longest was Dreamboats and Petticoats. It was out ages ago. It's like a
Mm.
rock and roll um, jukebox musical
Oh,
about some kids in a youth club making a band. It's very
wow.
cute and very fun.
Yeah.
I did that for about 3.5 years and
Oh,
absolutely loved it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was there for ages. Um, and yeah, I did some other touring rock and roll shows, and I do panto every year if I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. That's a
And
very different scene than the comedy scene, isn't it? There's a very kind of, I guess the cliche is jazz hands and smiley, um, compared to the kind of, well, I mean, if when you're backstage at a comedy gig, it's not really showbiz. There's a lot of people just sitting around being glum, I
yeah,
think.
talking
And
into the corner.
yeah, and I've done a musical myself, and actors who do musicals are very up, aren't they? Very kind of.
Well, I think it does depend. My Because I play a lot of instruments, so a lot of my musical theatre work has been doing actor-meso. So we play the instruments as part of our characters on stage. So we're essentially the band and orchestra as well as the cast of the show. So I think that is also a completely different discipline as well. So I think we tend to be maybe a bit more serious because you've got to do a lot. Like in Dreamboats, there was 48 songs in the show. So everyone would be playing 48 songs worth of music without any score, and dancing and acting.
Right.
Singing. So it's a lot. But I think the whole, I guess, cliche of people being quite buzzed is because, it's a bit, you've got to get your energy up. You can't, the audience isn't going to get, you have to start the show with the energy that you want the audience to have.
Yeah.
So that is part of the warm-up process, definitely. Like you have to warm yourself up so that you're ready, so that when you get out there you're like so that the crowd is like on your side straight away, I guess. Whereas maybe perhaps the vibe of some plays that don't have music, where they're introducing your character, you don't have to have that initial impact of getting, because there's always an opening number in a musical, right? And that is to get the audience on side, get the energy out there. It's like MC, the opening song.
Absolutely, the MC at a comedy show.
It was like, come on, let's go, and then they go into the story. So if you think of it that way, everyone has to jointly crowd work the room in the opening number of a music.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, so you're not going to put on a deadpan comedian as an MC, are you? So.
Yeah. Even if you do, they would still be doing stuff to get the energy up in the room in their own way.
Right.
So I guess the cliches about people being like, it's literally, that is for the audience, to get the audience on side. We have to be more pumped.
Yeah.
So that we can get them in.
Right. Yeah. No, it's great, and this unbelievable talent, the people who do musicals. I ended up in a musical. I don't know how I ended up, because like it's just I was way out of my comfort zone, and in rehearsals I was just amazed at how they can just work out harmonies just like that. It's just incredible.
There's a lot of disciplines involved, I think, in musical theatre, because you're juggling a lot of plates all at once. So it gets a bad rep from a lot of other styles of acting. But I think it teaches you a lot, because you have to be so aware of everything. Like if you think of it in, like, for example, in The Lion King, you're singing a song, you're dancing, you've also got puppets going around, the stage is moving, everything's going on all at once.
No, it was brilliant. It's brilliant. It was the most nerve-wracking experience in ages for me, but it was amazing to have done it.
A buzz, right?
Incredible. Yeah. So how did you end up getting into to comedy?
There's a series of things. I'd always wanted to do comedy, but I'd always thought that I think probably based on the comedy that I was seeing on TV, I just thought I would have to be a lot older, have more life experience, I think. But because I look very young, I was only there wasn't that many roles, I think, for some. I'm quite short as well, so in musical theatre I was doing a lot of being a swing, so covering the whole ensemble, and doing a lot of understudy work, and then in panto playing the silly characters, and I got to a point where I'd kind of done all of the jobs that were available to me at that time, and I just had met a few people that had taken me to the Comedy Store and gone, you're funnier than that person, and just people had just gone, you should just try it and then just see how it goes. So I was just very lucky, just surrounded by people that thought that I could do it.
Yeah.
And then I started doing an online character at work backstage, at one of the shows I was on, and my cast members at the show, just one of them used to run a cabaret, and she was like, "Well, you've got to go and do this character here." And that's literally how it happened. So I don't actually remember my first gig, because there was so much adrenaline. I just kind of blacked out while I was on stage. So obviously I kept going, but someone filmed it, and that's the only recollection I have of that gig.
Really? It just
Yeah, and then about 2 hours later, I came back into the room. My friend was like, "Oh, you're back with us, are you?" And I was like, "Whoa!" I was just like so buzzed from it. So I was like, "Obviously, I'm doing this again. This is far more exciting than going on for a character. I have no idea where they go on the stage."
yeah.
um,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
so just very lucky to meet the right people at the right time, I think, to make me think I could give it a go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you said it was a cabaret as well. So is there a different scene that you can do rather than just purely the comedy clubs? There's a cabaret,
Yeah,
maybe
I
burlesque
think,
scene as well or something. I don't know.
yeah, I think I'm quite lucky. I probably having the theatrical background. I've got a lot of costumes in my
Mm,
set. I do a lot of all of my stuff is pretty much to music, and it's all
mm,
very silly. So I think I often get put on cabaret nights, and mixed bill nights,
mm.
as well as comedy nights and stand-up nights and stuff. And I think I can get away with that because it's got the theatrical element, so it can go
Yeah,
across a few different things. And if I just know, like, if I'm doing a night that's perhaps more geared towards musical theatre acts, then I'll do my parodies of musical theatre songs, for example. In those situations, you just tailor it to where you are and
because
do
you know
the
you
most
know that
silly.
that audience will be on board with that. They'll get it, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's good fun.
Yeah, cool. I mean, that's quite an exciting, maybe a more exciting scene at the moment, perhaps cabaret and maybe even burlesque.
Mm. Yeah, at Phoenix Arts Club is one of my favourite venues, and their bills are always made up of cabaret, burlesque,
Mm.
drag, and comedy. So if you go on any of their cabaret, any of their a night in Soho nights, they'll
Yeah.
have they'll always have a bill that has acts in those categories.
Right. Yeah.
It's so exciting to watch because visually it's amazing, and you've got all this different type of entertainment. So it's just, yeah, the audience is always like, "Oh, I've seen so much."
Yeah. Yeah.
so uh, so yeah, it's good fun there.
That sounds amazing. I'm far more into that myself, I think. Yeah. So, have you traveled around the UK then much? Have you traveled outside of London and gigs? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I probably for the last year and a half until lockdown, I was probably mostly gigging out of London actually.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, just there's a lot of really nice clubs out of London. That's not to say the clubs in London aren't nice. They're also nice. But obviously being from London, I'd done a lot of London clubs, and I was just enjoying meeting new people further afield and understanding how um, audiences in different places, what their vibes are and what they enjoy. I
mm,
think, yeah, I really enjoy traveling around everywhere. So
yeah.
hopefully get to do it again.
I know. Yeah. I hope we don't know when,
You
but
just don't know. Yeah.
mm, I think when maybe you could probably come up with an act that involves lots of
Yeah, just
styrofoam or something or
it's pure
uh,
plastic.
plastic. Yeah.
I am Plastic Man. Yeah, maybe that's my new show.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you won an award as well for musical comedy, a musical comedy award.
Yeah,
Sorry, musical comedy award.
Yes, yeah, last year. Yeah, God, I love the musical comedy awards. They're wicked.
Mm.
So if you like musical comedy, check them out. I think they've moved what was this year's final to April next year.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I had a lovely year last year. I won that, and I won the Two North Down um, competition as well. And I got
yeah.
to be in the final of the sketch off competition at Leicester Square Theatre. It was
Ah,
literally, there was like 5 weeks where I was living my best life last year.
wow,
All these fun
wow.
venues. It's lovely.
What sketch off?
Yeah, it's run by the Leicester Square Theatre, and it's designed for sketch, anything that falls under sketch category. So character comedy, sketch comedy, and
Wow.
they do the final. They did the final last year on the main stage at Leicester Square Theatre.
Hmm.
So it was like a theatre I've always wanted to obviously play, because
Yeah.
go and see your favourite comedians there. So halfway through my set, the David Hardcastle, who runs it, we were laughing because I think he noticed that halfway through my set I'd realised that I was on the stage that I've always wanted to play, and my face just went, oh, and then I carried on with my set. So yeah, I had an absolutely lovely time there. Very lucky, I think.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And so do you think that like there's more with this lockdown? There's going to be a lot more online comedy, sketch comedy, musical comedy. You're just going to have to, for the time being.
Yeah, I think those kind of comedies where perhaps interaction with the audience isn't a necessary part of it,
Mhm.
that is obviously a lot easier for it to be working online.
Yeah,
Um, so I've really enjoyed doing online gigs on Zoom, for example, and stuff. But I am aware that my act, it's to music. I can sing a song and it doesn't feel odd for the audience not
yeah,
to join in, like that's okay.
mm,
Whereas perhaps some of my friends who do more one liners, and especially a lot of crowd work people,
or crowd work.
I can't imagine how
Yeah,
how difficult that must be to transfer onto online. But loads of my friends have done it incredibly well. Um, I'm
yeah,
just like, I've not had to change anything, so I've been okay. But yeah, watching all my friends, adapt to the new styles that work for them online has been incredible.
yeah,
And it's been lovely to see everyone just supporting each other. I think everyone's trying to learn new skills all at the
yeah.
same time.
Well, you're like kind of not on a stage anymore. You're on an equal footing with the audience. So it's more like
Mm,
you're chatting to them, or obviously if you're doing a song, that's different, but it certainly changes everything. Yeah.
yeah, I
And
do.
it makes you realize how much, what a big part an audience play in a performance. Like you forget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like the first gig back, I'm just going to be so. I'm already high energy, but I'm going to be so excited. I'm going to be like a little puppy, uncontrollable. Be like people. So that would be really lovely.
Yeah. And I'm sure people will be so happy to get out and watch live
Yeah,
entertainment.
hopefully.
I'd say so. Um, so, so yeah, listen, thanks for having a chat. So this is Need to Know Comedy Show. I always ask you to, every interviewee, to name an act that you think people probably haven't heard of, but that you reckon is amazing. So have you got an act, Katie?
Yeah, I think Charlie George. She's fairly new in Comedy Land,
Okay.
but she's done a lot of other performance styles as well, and she just got shortlisted for the Script Angel competition. And I think she's already a fantastic writer for comedy. So I can't wait to see what that will bring.
Yeah.
Reading the breakdown of what her script submission was about, it sounds amazing. So I really hope that at least the script gets finished and we get to read it, and hopefully it will get put on somewhere or something else. So I'd recommend her. She's very new. But everyone that I've gigged with, where we've been on the same bill, where she's recommended me, they've always said how amazing she is. So she's very well loved as a performer as well. So yeah, get following her. She's really cool as well. Plays the drums. What more do you?
Brilliant. I'll look her up then. That's Charlie George. Charlie George, a brand new act. Not the, you probably wouldn't have heard of Charlie George, played for Arsenal back in the 70s as well, but I'm sure it's not the same person.
I don't think it's the same person, but I don't know who this Charlie George.
Oh yeah, have a look at him and just see if there's any resemblance. Okay. Okay, well listen, Katie, it's been amazing chatting to you, and thanks for coming on the show, because I know I reached out to you and you hadn't a clue who I am, and just so thanks for getting back to me.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Okay. Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Bye.